Today's topic is the operating room environment. I will share several points. First, overview. Second, things to ensure in the operating room. Third, vocabulary. And the last, prepositions of place. Now let's go to the overview of an operating room. So operating room, or you can say OR, is another name for operating theater or operating suite. It is also called surgery center. It is a unit of a hospital where surgical procedures are performed. An OR is brightly light and the temperature is very cool. It is air-conditioned to help prevent infection. And all personnel wear protective clothing in this room. Next, things to ensure in operating room. First, medical gases, including oxygen, that is for resuscitation and inhalation therapy. Nitrous oxide is for sedation and pain relief. Medical air is for keeping the patient comfortable and breathing. Nitrogen is for driving OR equipment. Vacuum is for pulling waste anesthetic gas out of OR. And carbon dioxide is for insufflating medical gas, or it is for respiratory stimulation during and after anesthesia. Second, fire prevention and management. When there is a fire in the operating room, make sure you do these things. First, switch off the electricity. Second, extinguish the fire. Next, call the emergency number and then transfer the patient to another room and prepare an additional OR. And the next is environmental factors, including temperature, humidity, ventilation, noise, and ionizing radiation. And you have to make sure the electrical safety, including the risk of electrocution, protection from electrical shock, or surgical diathermy. Next, you're going to learn vocabulary. This is an anesthesia monitor, electrocardiograph machine or ECG machine, stool, cabinet, kick bucket or trash can. This is an anesthesia cart. This is a crash cart. This is a case cart. Next, operating lights or surgical lights or lighting. This is a warming cabinet or warmer. Footstool or stacking step stool. Electrosurgical unit or generator. This is an instrument table. Stainless steel utility cart. Surgical table or operating table or patient's table. This is a solution stand. Next, this is a space station table, mail stand, hamper stand, utility table. Alright, now let's go to the prepositions of place. I hope you still remember the prepositions that you have learned in the previous semester. Across from or opposite, among, behind, in front of, next to or beside, between, near or close to, above or over, below or under, in, on. Okay, now I need you to look at the picture and tell the location. Just guess it first. Okay, so number 1, the monitors are near the IV pole. The pillow is on the surgical table. The surgical light is above the surgical unit. And the socket box is behind the surgical table. Next, I want you to watch a video of operating room tour. Watch it and later you can answer my questions.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Surgical Tech Tips. And this is going to be the operating room breakdown video. So in a previous video I made, boink, 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 the operating room tour, I stated in that video that I wanted to do a more in-depth video on the breakdown of the actual operating room, the actual operating room suite itself. So we are going to start off with airflow and filters in this in the operating room. The filters that are used in the OR are called HEPA filters. They're high efficiency particulate air filters, basically. It's a pretty common filter that you see used in a lot of air filtration devices, and they're just big air filters up in the ceiling somewhere in our air ventilation system. The most important part of the air in the OR is how it runs through the OR. It's called laminar airflow. And laminar airflow is pretty interesting. It actually flows in parallel lines. Think of it like this. There's no cross traffic of airflow. So there's no like static air constantly sitting in one place inside this entire room. There's just parallel airflows flowing through this entire room in the same direction next to each other until they leave the room out of the door. Interestingly enough, whenever you walk in through an OR door, you will feel a blast of air into your face, because that's the direction of airflow. All of that air is being pushed in through those HEPA filters, through the ceiling, and then boom, right out of the door. So all of that air, it's not crossed, it's parallel, it's all flowing in the same direction out of the room. and that is to help reduce, all those particles in the air that the HEPA filter might not catch, or, plume smoke in the room as we're working. All of those particles are being immediately taken out of the room, and nothing is staying inside of this room for too long. There's two types of outlets in each of these rooms as well. There's always going to be a red outlet and a white outlet. The red outlet is basically what you always want to hook all of your OR equipment up to. Your anesthesia machine, your operating room table, everything that's on your boom, camera, light source, suction, all that stuff, because everything that's plugged into any of these red outlets inside of this room, which there are multiple red outlets placed on the walls around these rooms, all of these red outlets are directly hooked up to the generator. So if for some odd reason there's a massive power outage, these devices that are still plugged into these red outlets will keep running. So we'll be able to finish the surgery so long as we have generator power in case of a massive power outage. Crazy. It has happened before, interestingly enough, and it is pretty crazy, but it works. So any things that are not really directly used with the patient, maybe like a computer, stuff like that, those can be plugged into these regular white outlets. As you can see here, we got a bunch of tubing coming down from the ceiling. Those are all different types of gases that we will use in the OR. Most of them, majority of them, are always going to be hooked up to our anesthesia machine, because obviously that needs a lot of different types of medical gases, and I'll run you through those really quick. So as far as gases that are hooked directly up to this anesthesia machine, we have green, which is oxygen. We have yellow, which is just medical air. We have white, which is basically just a medical vacuum line. We have blue, which is nitrous oxide. And then we have purple, which is labeled WAGD, and that actually stands for like a waste gas disposal system. So all of the wasted gases that we don't use, that kind of sit in the system, those get purged out through this tube. The black line is not directly hooked up to the anesthesia line. We use these for different types of equipment in the OR, but this is a CO2 line, or carbon dioxide. And before you say it, I would love to do another video on the anesthesia machine, an actual breakdown of the anesthesia machine. Maybe I'll get an anesthesiologist involved, or just an anesthesia tech, to walk us all through on a video to kind of break down that really expensive and intricate machine there. Now every OR, you're going to have kind of this big central pivot like that, drop down right above the patient table. On that pivot, you may have one or two monitors that you may use for laparoscopic surgeries, or whatever type of video type equipment you're going to need to use. You may have 2 or 3 lights, maybe even just one OR light, depending on the size of your OR. These lights are pretty cool. These are pretty updated lights for us.
Ooh, shiny.
We've had these for 2 years now. These are all LED, so they're super, super bright. Really, really like them. And all of these lights can be turned on by a wall switch, or you can actually turn the lights on directly from the computer themselves. And actually, while we're over here, the computer is essential to the OR. The circulating nurse is usually over here during the case. They're charting everything, all the information about the case, for the case, doing the charges for the case, and putting in different times and stuff like that for the case as well. They have a very important role. And not only while the circulating nurse is doing this, they also have to be able to kind of keep a watchful eye on the surgery itself, pay attention to see if there's anybody at the table that needs anything. We may run out of a certain supply, labs, Raytex usually, or may need a needle or something like that, and they'll have to step away from the computer and go grab that type of stuff. So they really have to keep a watchful eye on everything going on in the OR. Very important role. Next, let's talk about the boom. The boom is actually attached to the ceiling, just like those lights and monitors were. But on top of the boom, for this room, this boom is actually located at the foot of the bed. It doesn't always have to be that way though. A lot of the times in other rooms that we have here in the OR, it could be up near the head of the bed, like on the right side or the left side. It just depends on the outlay of the room. But on this boom, we have specific things that every room needs. We have a camera box that you will be able to hook your laparoscopic camera up to. We have an insufflation machine that you'll be able to pump CO2 directly into the patient. We have a light source. Also, for the laparoscopic type cases, can't see anything without any light. Just underneath here, we have a core drill. This is well, for this room, since we use TPS often in this room, we have a core drill directly in this room that always stays in here for the TPS saw. We have a bovie at the foot of the bed, or cautery, whatever you want to call it. And we also have suction machines. Two different types of suction machines. This is just a wall suction machine. There's a vacuum line on the back of this boom that's hooked up directly to this suction machine, and we can fill up these little canisters. And this is what we used to use all the time in the OR. But then technology came around. And when technology comes around, what happens? Things always get better, right? So, we've got this guy. This is a Stryker Neptune. This guy is huge. It's a huge, giant suction machine. It's just got one little power cord, and we can just hook in one of these filters directly into it and lock it in place. It's got 4 little nozzles available to it, and this top part is really cool. It can hold up to 5 liters in this top part, and then this bottom part can hold like 20,000 liters. And you can even dump the top part into the bottom part. It's pretty cool, and it's great to use on like arthroscopic ortho cases when you're constantly piping in all that fluid like into a knee, and it's just getting everywhere, and you're sucking it all up, and it's getting all over the floor. These things can hold so much fluid. It's fantastic. You always need some sort of patient warming device, and for us here in this OR, we use the bear hugger system. Works great, and it keeps the patients nice and warm throughout our procedures. Can't ask for anything more.
Can't forget the OR table itself. It's pretty much one of the most important things.
I mean, it's where the patient sleeps.
We have step stools, trash cans, a patient board for moving the patient over from their gurney over to the table itself. This room is equipped with a huge cabinet that we were able to put some extra supplies in that we use. There's our workstation, prep stand. The nurses will use these prep stands for all their prep sticks, Foleys, anything that they need to prep the patient before the surgery. Gloves, always we wear gloves. Extra saline bottles for the field itself. We got mayos, ring stands, back tables.
All of the stuff in this room is for the patient. It's to make surgery simpler. It's to make it less stressful for everybody else in this room, to make sure we have everything in this room that we need. If the doctor or the assistant can't see something while they're working on the patient, we have a step stool that they can use right away. All of that stuff is in every single one of these rooms, so we never have an issue during surgery. That's the most important part. You never want your nurse or assistant or anybody leaving the room to go find something. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this operating room breakdown. I tried to hit as many things as I could in this room. There's a lot more equipment in the OR that's used every day, and I might have to do a separate video for that. I keep on saying I'm going to do separate videos because there is so much stuff to talk about that the operating room uses. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you again.
Okay, Next, you can answer the following questions. Okay, this is the answer. Number 3. The answers may vary. Alright, I think that's all. So if you have questions or comments, please feel free to share. Thank you very much for watching the video.